Hi everybody, it's Dr. V. Welcome back to my channel. Today we have a very special guest with us. My daughter Eden is here holding
Hello,
sacred
everybody.
space. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Hello, everybody.
She's holding sacred space with us. And so I'm going to get started by creating, just energizing the air with this asp universe juice, which smells amazing. And we're going to jump right in. Spirit, please use me as a clear channel for communication. May the messages that come through be in the highest good of all those concerned. I draw a sacred circle around this space, setting my ego to the outside. I call upon my guides, ancestors, higher wisdom, divine love, ascended masters, angels, to be present, protect this space, protect the energy, protect the person who's listening. May these messages encourage, inspire, and transform. So it is. So,
and also, I just wanted to mention I'm a little sick, so sorry if I'm coughing a little bit.
Let's just jump in. This is the week's energy for people in twin flame, divine love, soulmate connections. So we're going to look at the overview of the energy, just see what the heck is going on, see what people are bringing, see what people are dealing with. So awesome. I love seeing this. I absolutely love seeing this card. This is Pachamama, the goddess of forgiveness. So when Pachamama shows up, she's showing up to say that we are the feminines in this connection are really embodying forgiveness. So for those of you who have had situations with your counterpart that might have felt negative, or they might have hurt you, or they did something that was not so positive, you might have been holding some resentment that you didn't even realize. So it's great to see this card showing up, because what it's saying is that people are really moving into that space of forgiveness. People are really letting things go. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean, I'm not one of those people, you'll never hear me say things like forgive and forget, because it's ridiculous. Unless you can mind erase, you can't forgive, you can't forget. So you can't forgive and forget. It also doesn't mean, forgiveness does not mean that you have to re-engage in a relationship with somebody. In order for to re-engage in a relationship with someone that's hurt you, there has to be restoration. There has to be reparations made. They have to acknowledge wrongdoing. So forgiving your counterpart does not mean that you're automatically jumping back into a relationship. What it means is that you no longer have the desire for them to punish them, or for them to be punished. It's like you really just release it to the universe and let the universe take care of it. It's a really high level energy to be in. Forgiveness is one of the most sacred acts that we can offer, because most often we're forgiving people who don't deserve it, and who haven't shown us any remorse or sorrow. And so it makes it much more challenging to do that. So what the masculine is bringing in is Anubis, the god of protection. So it's interesting, because what this is, the god of protection is about really kind of stepping up their game collectively as masculines, and to be protective. They've recognized not that the feminine needs to be protected. I always say this, you guys probably hear me say this a lot, but not that the feminine is like some damsel in distress that needs to be protected, because that's not the case at all. Feminines are very strong. Feminines are very powerful. But there are times that we as feminines do want to be able to put our guard down, to be able to not feel like we have to be in control of everything. And sometimes that we want to be able to have somebody else to take the lead and to step up and protect us. And so that is what the masculine is beginning to realize. There's two things that they are recognizing: all the ways in which they have abdicated their protection and their duties as masculines, that they've stepped out of that role of protector, and that they have not served the feminine well by that. And so they're really realizing that, and they're also wanting to step into that protective role. Again, this doesn't mean like that they feel like you're weak or anything like that. It just feels like they want to be able to be that protector, that provider. That is the very masculine energy, is being the protector, being the provider. That's the nature of the sacred masculine. And so for them to be rising up into that energy is really important. It feels like they're starting to have some realizations about ways in which they need to step their game up. So then we have the shadow side of the connection right now is miscommunication. So what this is about is people, if you look at this card, he's saying it's a 9, she's saying it's a 6, and neither one of them are wrong. It's just their perception. I used to do this in marriage counseling when I would be working with couples. I would tell, the one partner to be like, to describe what they're seeing, and then the other person to describe what they're seeing, and both of them would describe something that the other person couldn't see, like, so what was behind the other person. So like, if I were to ask Eden, my daughter, right now what she sees, she would say behind me, she would say like my computer, my desk. And if I was just looking at it from my perspective, I'd be like, well, no, there's a couch and there's chairs and there's lamps. And then we could sit here and argue about who's right. And the reality is that both people are right. And in this situation, there's some miscommunication that's happened. So if you're at odds with your counterpart, it's more than likely a miscommunication, misperception, that you're not seeing things through the other's eyes. You're not seeing it through their lens. Or you're simply not communicating well. I've said this before in readings that oftentimes we have to ask ask people around us what they heard us say. Sometimes, this is another thing that I learned as a therapist, is that sometimes what people hear isn't what you say, and so you have to be very clear about making sure that what's communicated is what they hear. For example, I was having a conversation with somebody once, and I said something, and their facial expression changed. And I knew based on their facial expression that they had heard something other than what I said. And so I clarified. I said, what did you just hear me say? And they repeated what they heard. And I said, no, that's what you heard, but this is what I said. And so it took, there's a little finessing of the conversation that needed to happen. But that's what this is about, is that there might be people, like the tough love reading that I did earlier or last week was about projection, or transference. And so that can be some of what's going on right now. Part of the shadow side, part of what people are struggling with is they're miscommunicating, or they're not seeing each other's perspective, and it's keeping things blocked up. On the other hand, the light side of the connection is that people are coming into a deeper sense of selfhood. So selfhood is about really coming into who you are and not really caring what other people think anymore. So it's like being more authentic, being more who you are, being unapologetic, and not feeling like you need to be something other than what you are to please other people. And so this is somebody who's really starting to come into their own understanding of who they are, in their own competence, confidence. This is people who are like, you know what, maybe I'm whatever, maybe I don't fit the ideal mold for what people think, but I feel amazing and I love myself. And so this is somebody who's really, the positive side is that this is encouraging people to come into a more centered state with themselves and feel more grounded in who they are and how they show up and how they're being in the world. So let me move this aside, and we're going to look at the connective energies. I think I'm just going to use this one for both. Is that okay? No? This one? Okay. Eden wants me to, she picked the cards that I'm using tonight, so let's look at the overall connective energies. I'm going to do this a little bit differently than I normally do. But that's okay, because change is good.
Wait, Mom. What if you picked, what if you had 4? You picked 2 from there and 2 from there.
That's what I was going to do. How did you know?
Maybe I can read your mind.
Maybe you're psychic too.
Maybe we're all psychic.
We are. Not all of us know it yet. Okay, so I'm going to use, by the way, that deck that I was just using is the Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine Reunion, or Divine Feminine, Divine Masculine Reunited by Christabel Jessica. And so I'm going to use 2 different decks here. One for the masculine energies, one for the feminine energies, and we're going to see how that works. This one was for the feminine? Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. So we're going to look at the connective energies for wow. Okay, so these are the feminine, these are the masculine. The masculine are really in their The wind is about sword. It's about mental energy. Okay. So this is like, we have fear and visionary. So there's two things that are happening here. The first is that the masculines this week, their connective energy, they're really bringing in a lot of fear. This is like they're seeing things bigger than what they are. Okay, but the feminine is bringing in this warrior of wands. This would be like the knight of wands. This is dynamic forward movement. The feminines are chomping at the bit, ready to go. So those of you that have been doing your work spiritually and been growing, you're like, I'm not letting anything hold me back anymore. So we also have the three of wands with the feminine energy, which is about it's about putting your thoughts out there and like waiting for your ships to come in. So it feels like the feminine has really started to take steps forward, has really started to go in the direction of their dreams. So this can be having put out, just putting new job opportunities, joining a dating site, whatever. But there is definitely some energy of moving forward. Whereas the masculine is still in this space of fear. They're kind of still stuck in their fear. But they're starting to see things a little bit bigger. Okay, so I see this visionary, you see this third eye is opening. It's like they are starting to see things a little more clearly. They're not there yet. They're just not there yet. There's still a lot of growth that has to happen, but they're starting to see things from a different perspective. They may be feeling like they're starting to see things. Okay, they're starting to see things from a different perspective. That's really what I'm getting, is that like I feel like there may be messages that are coming through intuitively, psychically, in their dreams and visions, things like that they're starting to see things a little bit more clearly. Okay, they're starting to see things with a new perspective. So let's see what the this is. So these are the connective energies, which is interesting because when I look at this, I don't see actually a whole lot of connection. I feel like right now there's a lot more distance and separation than there was before, but that's not a bad thing. Okay, so don't hear that as a negative. It's actually positive because it feels like, I've used this analogy before, and it's one from the John Gray, the men are from Venus, women are from Mars, or men are from Mars, women are from Venus, or whatever. But he uses the rubber band analogy. And he talks about sometimes when masculines pull away, feminines like come toward them. So if they don't text you, you start texting them, and then it loses the tension in the rubber band, and then they lose interest. And so it feels like right now the feminines are not doing that. They're not tempted to chase after and pursue this connection. They're kind of energetically just being like, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you need to do, but I'm not going to stop. And so it's actually increasing the tension in a positive way in the relationship. The more that you disconnect and get to a space of non-attachment, this is the paradox, the less attached you are to the outcome, the more likely you are to get the outcome that you would desire. I hope that makes sense. So let's look at the energy that the masculine is bringing to the connection this week. Thank you, Eden. I'm just going to pull 3 for that. Okay, so we've got some passion here. Okay, so this is what they're bringing here is interesting that the manipulation card is centered, because I've been getting a lot of energies around that, and I've had a lot of people that I've been talking to that have talked about this manipulation. So they're either being manipulated or they're being manipulative. It feels like both. It feels like to a certain extent they're pulling strings on other people by not being honest, by not being fully in their integrity. Okay, they're not fully in that space yet. They're moving toward it. Okay, integrity is about wholeness. This is about, there's no such thing as like partial integrity. How you do something is how you do all things. And so this is the energy that I feel like the masculines, and this is part of the regeneration and the vision that they're having, is that they're starting to understand that you can't cut corners in one area. You can't be manipulative and not attract people that are going to manipulate you. If you're out of integrity, you live in anxiety because you're always wondering when the other shoe is going to drop. You're always wondering when things are going to fall apart. You're always wondering when your lies are going to get caught up to you. And so this is, I really get very clearly that their energy of having manipulated or being manipulated or having been manipulative both are really front and center this week, that they're really having to face that. Something might have happened that brought it to light. Something might have happened in their life that showed them just how much this manipulation energy has been present and how little of the integrity. And it's really forcing this regeneration. It's forcing this space of, I really need to kind of get my shit together and stop doing this. Like, this is a regeneration is necessary. This is like, something new needs to be birthed. Something new has to come out of this. This is not working anymore. So it feels like they're in a real state of growth. So let's see what the feminines are bringing. So we've got the Seven of Swords, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Eight of Cups. So we've got 2 eights here. And that's interesting because remember I said the feminine feels like she's moving on, like she's moving forward. So we have the Seven of Swords. This is a card about this. It's like sneaking away from a situation. It's like, you know, that gif that's, what's his name? Homer Simpson kind of sneaking, dropping back into the bushes. That's kind of what this energy is. Now it could be deception. In the traditional tarot, this is a card of it's the guy running off with the swords. Like there's 5 swords in hand and 2 that are left in the ground. And he's kind of looking over his shoulder to see if he's going to get caught. I don't feel that, though. I don't feel like it's a manipulative energy. I feel like it's a walking away energy. I feel like it's kind of turning your back on a situation and moving in a different direction. That's what that feels like more to me than being deceptive or sneaky or anything like that. This is the card that I'm referring to. And so... but I do feel like the feminine is kind of like in many ways like taking steps forward and still looking back. Okay, so it's like some of you might be making steps forward and doing like, well, I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to look for a different, maybe open an account on a dating site, look for a job in a different arena, but you're still kind of energetically looking back to see if your masculine's coming. And so there could be some of that energy. So we have this Eight of Pentacles, which is interesting because it's like, I really feel like for the feminines are pretty dedicated to their own growth and their own journey right now. This is like really focused on herself, or I'm sorry, themselves, because some feminines can be male or female or asexual or or gender fluid. So I'm sorry, I apologize for that. But this is really being committed to the growth. So this is, the feminines may have signed, some of you may have signed up for like mentorships or have joined courses or are signed up to take, become like a yoga instructor or learn Reiki or whatever. But that is definitely, the feminine is looking at building her own empire, building their own empire. Damn it, I just said it again. Sorry. I hate when I gender my readings. It annoys the crap out of me. But this is, the feminine's really in that space of wanting to go in their own direction and dedicate to their own life. It's like dedicating their energies to things in the material world that can bring something to fruition. So it feels like, again, less and less energy toward this connection. Not that there's not love there, not that there's not care and compassion, forgiveness, as we saw earlier, but less focus on that and focus on other things, because we have the Eight of Cups here, which again is an energy of walking away. This is a card of, this can be someone who, I've said this before and you all laugh at me when I say it, this is the card of somebody who like goes to the grocery store, like, I'm going to go to the grocery store and get some milk and never comes back. Now, I don't feel like the feminines are leaving for good, because like I said, that card of looking back, but I feel like the feminines are moving forward. I feel like feminines are like, it's time for me to just move forward and to go into a different direction. And so you may be not even communicating that to your counterpart. You may just be like, I'm just going to move forward and that's just what it's going to be. And, maybe my masculine will notice, maybe they won't, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'm just going to do me. I'm going to focus on me and getting my life straight, stacking my pentacles, moving forward in the direction that feels most beneficial. So what is ahead for this connection this week? Look at that, you guys. Athena.
Mama.
Just a second, please. Amazing. So
just wanted to say with these last cards right here,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like most of them are about like walking away, either looking back or just walking away, and
Yeah.
like not thinking about like much. It's like saying I'm done, like I'm just gonna be free,
Mm-hmm.
or saying like I'm sort of done, but I just sort of,
There's still a part that's not
Yeah.
fully done, still
Mhm.
holding on a little bit. Yeah, I agree. So what's ahead, what's coming ahead is the Chariot. So the masculine energy is we have the Chariot and we have creativity. So I get two things. I feel like the masculines are kind of gonna get this kick in the butt, kick in the pants to move forward. Like they need to have something to push them forward. There's going to be something, and I feel like part of it is going to be with this, like the integrity that came up earlier, recognizing how much they haven't been in integrity, and it's going to be that motivation that's going to kick them in the pants to get moving, to move forward in some kind of direction, instead of being stuck in fear all the time, instead of being stuck in this like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do, what's next, what's ahead, when is the other shoe going to drop. It feels like they're kind of coming to a space where they're just over it, and they want to be able to move forward out of that energy, out of that space of not being fully honest, not having integrity, not having the character that they know that they need to have. That's what it feels like. This is, it feels like they're really starting to see themselves in a light that they didn't like, that they haven't seen themselves before. They haven't been honest. They haven't been looking in that mirror honestly, and now they are. So the feminines, we have the Ace of Cups and the Ten of Cups, which is an amazing progression, okay? So feminines are really, I feel like those of you that are listed, that this reading is resonating for, and that you've been really doing your work, and by doing your work, I mean like the spiritual practices, committing to your own growth. There's this new beginning. This Ace of Cups is a new beginning. It's like things start to open up for you. So this could be, and this is emotional. It doesn't have to be relational. It doesn't have to be like that you meet somebody else. It could mean that for some of you if that's what if you're open to that. But it feels like there's this new beginning. It feels like you kind of take your power back, and you're like able to breathe again. I'm thinking of that movie, how Stella got her groove back. I feel like a lot of you are going to be getting your groove back. You're going to start feeling really good. You're going to start feeling confident and powerful and ready to move forward and ready to move toward this Ten of Cups, which is having it all. I believe that card came up last week as well, that this is like feminines are really moving into this space of I can have it all. I don't have to have one or the other. I don't have to sell out or compromise or give up my dreams to have something. I truly can have abundance and peace and prosperity and all of those things. And it's like the feminines are really moving toward that. And that's what's ahead. So feminines, for you're watching this, it's a very positive, hopeful read. For the masculines, it is as well. They just have more shit to work through right now. It's just that they need to work through some of the stuff that's been keeping them stuck. So I'm going to move these aside. Will you sort those back into what they need to go to? Thank you. Thank you, my love. So we're going to look at the blocks to the connection. And then advice from Spirit. Thank you, my dear. Thank you, my sweet girl. I know. Okay, so the first block, and this doesn't surprise me at all, this is spiral. And it says, the spiral announces a descent. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. I was reading the reversal. Let me try that again. To renew yourself, you must shed your own old skin. You've already done this, so do not keep scraping away at the old, but welcome the soft new skin that is starting to grow. Break the habit of working on your faults all the time and let nature take its course. Know that a new skin feels vulnerable and scary at times. Trust the medicine of the spiral as it guides your journey of renewal. So for those of you that have been in that space where you're like, super obsessive about this connection, or you've been like, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? Is this going to be something that's going to work out? Or you keep thinking like, the more I work on myself, the more likely it is to shift this connection. Well, yeah, that's true, but if that's your motivation, then it's going to keep you stuck. So this is kind of saying to me, lighten up, have some fun. Go out and do something that's fun and enjoyable instead of being so like focused on trying to work on self-improvement all the time. Self-improvement is good, but it's like have some space for joy in there too, like laugh, enjoy your life. The next block is the child in reverse. It says the child comes to show you how you can correct the course of your life without being punished. I love that. Set yourself free from your conditioning for suffering. You were born unfettered and happy and can be so again if you make the choice right now. The child will help you climb out of the hole you may have dug yourself into and recover your sense of play. Like literally what I was just saying, like have some fun in the freaking process. Like, do things that you enjoy, do things that bring you happiness. It doesn't always have to be about personal growth and transforming your life. Like you can literally go out and go bowling or jump on a trampoline or roll around in the leaves or whatever feels joyful to you. That brings you joy and brings you laughter. Do that. That's going to help you get unstuck. And the advice from Spirit, the hummingbird. The hummingbird is very significant to me personally because it was my grandmother's favorite, and so it's like a special message for me. So if the advice from Spirit says the hummingbird is, the buzzing you feel is the sound of your hummingbird wings preparing you to say yes to a new adventure. This is not the time to linger on what has gone wrong, but to trust in the rightness of the moment and take bold action. Trust that success is assured even if you must face tests and challenges to reach your destination. Know that all will be well because the all is in the small. I love that. And then we have the counsel in reverse. It says, you're never alone. Turn to the counsel to find the guidance you seek and listen to the voices that arise spontaneously. Turn a deaf ear to that nagging voice from ego that tells you that you are not up for the task before you. Create a spiritual feast for the counsel. Invite them to your altar every time you meditate or pray. This is really important because a lot of people neglect to do this. You notice that when I pray, I call on my counsel. And that's something I do when I'm praying in my regular day-to-day life because there's you have literally like spirit beings that are out there just waiting for you to ask for help. But they can't help if you don't ask for it. They won't intervene if you don't request it. So make sure that you're not trying to do this all on your own. Make sure that you're not thinking that you have to be some kind of spiritual what's the word I'm looking for? You're not isolated on this path. And so start asking for help and get the help that you need along the way. Because there is vast amounts of power that's ready for you and accessible. So let's move this aside.
Mama.
And look at the love connection. Yes, dear.
I just wanted to mention that those cards that you just pulled, I noticed that the two first blocks were both facing right side up, and then the second blocks were both upside down. Like they were both reverse.
You're absolutely right. What do you think that means? I think it means mirroring. I think that it means that things are mirroring each other pretty well. Even if it doesn't feel like we're always aligned, it's signs like that that show us that we're mirroring. I'm glad that you caught that. So what is the love connection between the two? We've got commitment, the distorted masculine, and reparenting yourself. So commitment, here's the thing. People are committed to this. Whether you're in a commitment to each other or not, you're committed to the growth. You're committed to the journey. You're committed to the path. Now, the connected energy with the distorted masculine is interesting because that is about the masculine that is It says, the distorted masculine loves bureaucracy, power for the sake of it, and separateness rather than togetherness. He tends to work with a win-lose dynamic where only one can be winner on one first prize. Taking advantage and taking whatever is available are seen as business as usual in this mode. So naturally we see a lot of distorted masculine in the corporate environment, so on and so forth. The distorted masculine is still influencing your life, living by your clock in your diary, pushing everything aside till your work is done. See, this is about coming back to that soulfulness. I was reading Soulmates yesterday by Thomas More, I believe, and he talks about that sometimes we just need to tend to the soul. And so instead of being like, you might be in a space right now where you're like, I can't have any fun until this happens, or I need to do this and this and this, and then I'll take care of myself. And we have to start approaching it from a different perspective where we really tend to the soul first. So that's saying, like, if you need to sleep in, that you sleep in, and don't worry about the dishes in the sink. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. That's still connecting this. People are still in that energy and still connecting. But we have this reparenting yourself. This is providing yourself the love that you need and that you maybe didn't get as a young person. This is, there's a meme that goes around this, and I'll see if I can find it and share it on my Instagram or in the community tab on my YouTube channel, that talks about being the person that your child needed when you were younger. And so that's what this is people are starting to learn how to be the person that they needed when they were younger, and they're taking care of their needs and doing those things now. So let's look at what is in the headspace of the person that you're listening for. Connection, resolving conflict, and the divine masculine. Amazing. So we have the distorted masculine and the divine masculine. So here's the deal. The person that you're listening to this for is thinking about this connection. They're thinking about it, they're aware of it, and I feel like they want to make a peace offering. I feel like this olive branch, like they want to extend something to resolve the conflict. When I say that, I don't mean it in the sense that people are going to like want to jump back in and get back together, or like, have jump from being in separation to being connected again. But that could happen for some people. But I do feel like there's a sense of wanting to resolve the conflict, like really just moving forward peacefully, and with a sense of with peace and forgiveness. Forgiveness came up earlier, so it feels like this is a really important time for that. And the divine masculine, they're thinking about that. Like I said earlier with the integrity coming up, I feel like they've been operating with this distorted masculine, but they're thinking about this. They're thinking about how out of alignment that distorted masculine has been with the divine masculine. So they're really really thinking like there are some changes that need to be made. And again, this is not saying that you are like, this reading is not specifically for like divine feminines, because we all embody both. We embody the feminine and masculine, and so both, even if you're a divine masculine listening, you could have your counterpart could be really, unpacking their own distorted masculine energy and moving more into that space. So what's in their heart space? The silver waterfall, self-respect, RESPECT, find out what it means to me. Okay, so the one, these don't get read in reverse, I see, that's why I flip them. The sacred waterfall, this is about, this is, I get this one. This is about, refreshing your own energy. Okay. So sometimes you can get, exhausted in the world, and like people take energy from you. And so this is a card of somebody that's going within. So in their heart space, and this, what I talked about earlier about the joy and the happiness and kind of having fun, it feels like that's what they're in their heart space that they're doing. They're needing to like rejuvenate. They've been burned out. They've been doing too much, giving too much to the wrong sources, to wrong energies, wrong endeavors. And they're needing this space to kind of go within and tap into their own, re-energize themselves. Now they're looking at, in their heart space, this is an interesting energy. They're looking at, or feeling into self-respect. So it's like they're starting to look at all the ways in which they don't respect themselves, that they haven't respected themselves in the past, that when you're behaving in these distorted masculine ways and you're behaving with a lack of integrity, that it speaks to a certain lack of self-respect. Are you leaving? Okay, bye. You can just leave it.
Okay, bye everybody.
Thank you, honey. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
Okay. They're thinking about the ways in which they haven't shown up in self-respect for themselves, where they've not been honest with themselves. They've not taken care of themselves. They're starting to ask, like, in their heart, they're starting to look at their life, their choices, and saying, like, how are the ways that I have not been respectful to myself? What would it look like to be more respectful? How would that be? And part of that is, for a lot of you, you really mirrored that to them. Your self-respect, by saying, look, I'm not going to continue being in a situation with you that is compromising my integrity and it's compromising my self-respect. If you're, for instance, your counterpart has a karmic partner or soulmate or something, and they want you to be in, their secret lover, and you're like, no, I'm not going to do that because I love myself too much to be in that role. They may not like it, their ego may not like it, but their soul and their heart is like, damn, that's really, self-respect is really attractive. And then they're starting to see, again, because we act as mirrors, they're starting to see the ways in which they have not behaved in that way and in those ways, and it's really mirroring to them. It has mirrored to them, and it has caused them to start to examine their own levels of self-respect and want to change that. Now, chivalry, I believe this came up last week as well, but this is another masculine energy. Chivalry is about really being in this space of, wanting to be more chivalrous. And that is, and chivalry is about, for me, it's like a lot about it's not being like, it's about doing the right thing for the right reasons. So this is like somebody like this, a person who is chivalrous is going to behave with honor, with character, with integrity. They're going to be protective, like that card that came up earlier. They're going to be, really understanding and honoring the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine energies, and really staying in that space of the dance between the two. And if, this is about really recognizing that chivalry is not performative. It's not something that you just do because that's what you think you're supposed to do. It really is about honoring and respecting the sacredness of yourself and others in this world and in this connection. So it really feels like the counterpart that you're listening for is going through some massive upheavals and awareness. It's like things are just like shifting and locking in, and they're getting a lot more clear about what they've been doing, how they've been living their lives, and the things that they need to shift. So let me go ahead and move this aside. And I'm going to get some messages from... those were the True Love reading cards, by the way, by Belinda Grace. These are the Lover's Oracle by Tony Carmine Salerno. The other cards I used were the Mythical Goddess Tarot and the, what is that called? Starry Cauldron Tarot, and the Mystical Shaman Oracle. My bad. I usually list them as I go along, but... Is there one more that wants to come out, Spirit? Thank you. Okay, so the first message we got: acceptance is the key to inner peace. At times we must accept things as they are. There is no point in trying to change that which is beyond our control. Next message: give thanks for the blessings of love soon to come your way. Know that you deserve to be and have all that your heart truly desires. Next, let there be closeness between you, but always give each other space. Love never claims, it simply allows and gives. Beautiful. And the final message: soulmate. Your soulmate is already with you in spirit. Believe this and they will manifest physically. So here's the deal. Sometimes we feel like, I said this all the time, that separation is an illusion. And so you're already connected. If you're truly twin flame soulmates, divine counterparts, whatever term you use, you're always connected. Separation is an illusion. When you can start to understand that and start to vibrate on the level of recognizing that separation is an illusion and feeling their presence and their connection with you all the time, it's going to shift things for you. It's going to shift things in a radical way. This is why I say oftentimes, like, you may want to get a journal or something and write in your journal about like letters to your counterpart. Sometimes that can be helpful in staying connected. So I'm going to move this aside and wrap up with one final message from the Rumi Oracle. Now this reading is a little bit longer already, but it feels important to do this. Wow. And that's why we have number 42, the dance of the divine feminine. And I just got a big old lump of emotion in my throat, and so I know that that means it's a very salient, powerful message for this collective right now. So it says, if a tree could move from one place to another, it would not suffer the pain of the saw or the oppressive wounds. If the sun and the moon stood still like the rocks, they could not offer brilliance. How bitter the taste of water would be if the rivers stopped its flow, remaining still like seawater. When the seawater rises to become a cloud, it loses its bitterness and pours the rain of sweetness. I have given you only a few examples. You can figure out the rest. Break away from the self and enter the kingdom of love. That's the poem by Rumi. And this is the Rumi Oracle by Alana Fairchild. It says, how can your feet bear to be still when the music is so lush and inviting? How can you hold yourself back from the tide of love when the horizon looms so vast and exciting? How can you not arch your back and respond with ecstasy to the lover's touch, saying in absolute submission, yes, more? You were made to move and to grow, to love and flow. Even mountains change. Surrender the stodgy ways of the mind and become willing to dance to the great orchestrations of love. Now the message. These are really long, so just bear with me. You may feel unsettled, beloved, as though the ground beneath you is not so solid. You may touch it to see, is it moving? Of course. It is hurtling through the skies, spinning, tilted on its axis. It's amazing you aren't passed out on the floor in utter dizziness. Yet you stand there, imagining you have a choice of not moving. What funny foolishness. Let us laugh about it together. How can you even imagine it? Only through some misplaced fear. It is such a small craziness, really. You can cast it off, that small crazy fear. Let it return to the Earth Mother to become fertilizer for the far grander and more exciting insanity of divine love instead. Give up that tiny insanity in favor for the greater craziness of love. You cannot be unmoved by it. The rhythm of life will get you shaking your hips eventually. How could you not become entranced by the gleaming dance floor, shimmering with possibility and invitation? This oracle comes to you with guidance. Your life may feel as though it is being tipped upside down. Perhaps you feel as though the great beloved in a feisty mood has grabbed your ankles, is holding you upside down and shaking you wildly until your skirt is over your head, or the pockets of your pants become freed of their contents, keys and wallet dropping to the floor in disarray. Your hair is messy, your bottom is in the air, and your sense of orientation is nowhere to be found. Blood is rushing to your head, and goodness knows you just want to be put down to have a moment to come to your senses. So the beloved will give you that gift, but don't imagine it will last for too long. The great beloved esteems you capable of so much more than being sure-footed and sensible. You are capable of more whirling and stumbling whilst being inspired by the music of the spheres. If you just accept the great invitation to dance, there won't be so much roughhousing going on. It won't be needed because your hair will already be in a mess, your blood will already be pumping, and you'll be sweating, laughing, smiling, and dancing. The great beloved will be alive in you. Which is all that grand seducer ever wanted in the first place, even with all the jokes and horseplay. Disarrayed and disheveled by the divine beloved, you are able to break out of a too ordinary world. You will explore the delightful consequences of rocked boats and upset apple carts being swept away by a love as you dare to dream bolder and wilder dreams for yourself and the world. There is bigger magic for you to weave this lifetime. Prosaic priorities inherited from the world are stuff and nonsense. It is the priorities of the heart that matter to you. If you are ever to right yourself whilst the beloved is tipping you upside down like a soaring bird in the most impressive aerial dynamics, it will be through establishing right priorities, the priorities of your own heart. So ask your heart what matters most and attend to that. Soon you'll be able to find your orientation, even if everything you ever held on to appears to be shimmering and insubstantial, a mere dance of light rather than solid ground. This will become so easy for you because your orientation will flow from within, from the heart. And no matter what shifts and changes may take place around you, your center will remain strong. This is what the Beloved wants for you. Such peace and relief it shall bring you. But perhaps some shaking about is required first, in case you are reluctant to give up some mainstays, unaware of how much they drain the life away from your heart center. This oracle brings you this message also. There is something you are holding on to, a person, a place, a thing, a belief, a vision, and you need to let go because it wants to grow. It may grow and change into something utterly different, or it may grow into exactly what you are imagining. Whichever outcome, growth is happening, and you'll find you enjoy the way much more, with greater flow and support and less bashing of your head against a proverbial brick wall if you can let it happen. Don't worry if it seems as though your world is coming to an end or you are losing something you once loved. This is just the shaking about of the Great Beloved to lead you into a deeper, sweeter dance of divine being and becoming. Put your focus on your heart and realize you are more ready than you think. Now shake those hips, stamp those feet, close your eyes and clap your hands. There, that's better already. So I hope this reading resonated. Please let me know if you have any questions. If you'd like to book a private reading, all of the information on how to do that is in the description box below. And my coaching program is open for enrollment. It starts in January, and it's going to be really, really exciting. So I hope to see you in one of those 2 ways. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.